everybody enjoy first session?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's ready for another one?
Yeah.
Well, let's put our hands together. Kym Williams.
Guys, this session I'm going to focus on is really more about the culture, because what you heard, and it probably was fairly overwhelming, is a little bit about what you need to do and why you need to do it before lunch. But there's no point setting your business up to build if you don't bring your people along for the journey. So the session this afternoon is very much going to focus on how you take your people along for the journey and how you build a high performance above the line culture to make sure they're empowered to do that. So really important to understand, no good focusing on the task if we don't take people along for the journey. And so a lot of the discussion this afternoon is all about the people and the high performance habits. Before we start though, I'd like you at each of your tables just to reflect and please be candid with this. Just have a discussion for a couple of minutes in the tables about what do you believe, thinking over lunch, are some of the key challenges to building a great business. If you can just have a chat for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to ask for your feedback, maybe one from each table, and then we're going to have a chat about that, because it will tie in very nicely, hopefully, to some of the challenges about bringing people along for the journey. So have a chat on your tables, and then we'll have a chat about it. I'll bring it back now. Just to hear some of the discussions, and feel free to call out, just from your tables, what were some of your key challenges in building a great business? Just to hear from a couple of you, just in terms of just maybe one from each table. Yeah. Yep. Good. Staff.
Keeping focused on specific things.
Yep. Good. Yep. And that's a fair challenge. I think that's extremely challenging.
The other thing of that is making sure the things that you're not good at are getting done.
Yes. Yep. Good. Very good. Really good insight. Yeah.
By making sure the goals of the partners in the business are aligned.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
So one's not expecting to get the A and everyone's expecting to get the C.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. That role clarity is a really important one. Yep. Good. Yeah.
No, it's up there on the screen, but for us, it's culture.
Yes.
What's inside your business workplace is the culture. That's set by the owners or the managers. Unless you've got the right culture, it's just talk too hard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The leadership needs to have the right mindset.
Very good. Well, that's beautiful, because that's what we're going to talk about. I firmly believe the single biggest competitive advantage an organisation can develop is its culture, and that wasn't scripted. That was quite genuine in saying, I believe you can replicate systems. I think you can even replicate people and products and services, but you cannot replicate your culture, which is how you go about things. And when you build this fantastic team that are aligned with clear role clarity, all working towards the same goals, it is quite extraordinary to watch how transformational that is and the goals you can achieve. So it's a really important point to make. I believe you can replicate everything else but the culture. And the culture, the way I like to describe it, as simple as this, is the way we do things around here and how we do things around here. And whether or not we've got an improvement mindset or whether we've just got the mindset, that's the way we've always done it, that's the way we're going to do it. And so culture for me is king. And hence the reason why I hit you pretty hard before lunch around what you need to do, but no point doing it if you can't bring people along for the journey. So the whole point of the session now is about the tools and techniques to bring people along for the journey. So I'm going to go through that. Again, similar to before, ask questions, and what we're going to do is do a couple of exercises like that where I'll ask you in tables just to do a few things that are really important to building up towards the end of the presentation. Okay? So first things first, number one tip. You saw our strategic plan. You noticed one of our key pillars is culture. So right from the start, we actually separated culture from people. Culture was about how do we build a great culture rather than just let it happen. So we used independent diagnostics, meaning surveys, from independent people to me, so I wouldn't filter it, to gauge where we were at. And it was very important for us to get that feedback objectively so we knew where we stood. What's working well, what's not, is there clear role clarity, is there not, have we got a big picture, are we collaborating well, have we got hierarchy or not hierarchy, just getting that feedback so that we can improve. So tip number one include culture in the way you do business, because it is different than developing people. Culture is about how you want to do things, and you can do things where it's passive and reactive, or you can have a business that's proactive and empowered. And I know for me, I want a business where people are proactive and empowered and want to get on with things. And while I'm away, like today, they're just running the business far better than I can, and they joke about the fact that when you're back here, Kym, it doesn't run as well. Thanks for that. But all jokes aside, it probably does. I probably meddle sometimes where I shouldn't. So culture from the start has to be part of your strategic plan. That's probably tip number one. This tool, you'll love, is a tool we use with a lot of clients, but this is everywhere in our business. We call it above the line, and hopefully in your handouts, there's a sheet here where you've got above the line, but what we also do on the second page, we've done this as a group, looked at what's below the line for our business and what's above the line for our business. So we did that as a group, as a team. I didn't just go bang, here it is. What we did was sit down and workshop what is below the line for this business and what is above the line. And I'm going to go through a little bit of the science, because you'll laugh, but on everyone's mouse mat, this is on everyone's mouse mat in our business. It's on our screensavers. It's the way we approach it. And if I can use an analogy to explain how important this is to our business. Who here's got staff that they manage? Yep, so a lot of you. So I'll use an analogy and you understand it. You understand the analogy. Scenario number one, a staff member comes into the office, has a chat with you and tells you about all the problems. Scenario number two, they come in and have a chat to you, they tell you about the problems, and they've also got some ideas around the solutions. Scenario number three, they come in, they talk to you about the problems, they're talking about the solutions, they're already telling you what's being actioned and by when. What staff do we want? No rocket science in that one. The point that I'm trying to make though, that is our expectation we have in our business. And your job as owners of business is to create that expectation. And the only way you do that, you don't do it to people, you engage and explain why this is so important. And we all want a solutions-based mindset. We want them to come up with ideas. Even if they're not the right ideas, you then coach around the right ideas. So the difference is, similar to what Nick talked about this morning, I believe every person can make a difference. And they can come up with solutions. And they can come up with ideas because they know their job well. We've just got to give them the environment to be able to do it. Does that make sense? And this is fundamental. So, just to straw poll this, if you go to the second page, and I'll do this more as an interactive, and I want to hear your ideas. So for your business, as business owners, what's below the line for you? Just give me a few ideas. I've got a few ideas on there, but that's for our business. I want it to be about you. So what's the below the line behaviours that you wouldn't accept? Just straw poll me here. Just call them out in your organisation or your business. Yeah, rough enough is good enough. Absolutely. What's the above the line behaviour you want to see? Absolutely, right from the start. Good. Other example below them, but yes?
That's how we did it last time.
Yeah, that's the way we've done it last time. That's probably one of my most, how would you say it, frustrating comments I'll hear from a staff member or a client without questioning why. So what's the above the line? How can we do this better? Who can we learn from? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Someone else might have the template or the tool. Below the line, another example.
Punctuality.
Yeah, I'm a big believer, actually, punctuality in our meetings is next to godliness. I'm quite serious about that. Punctuality is a big thing for me with our meetings and our times, and I always encourage people to be 5 minutes early than 5 minutes late. I think it shows a sign of respect. What's the above the line behaviour?
You just said it.
Yeah, good.
5 minutes before at least.
Yeah, not that hard. Other below the line behaviour. Think about your own organisation. Yeah, clock watching is an interesting one. They're there for their time, as opposed to what's the above the line behaviour? This is a big one for us because we encourage our people to work from home. So this is a very big one, this one. Get the job done, deliver the outcome. Deliver the outcome. We're here to deliver outcomes. We're not here just to sell time or churn time. Very good. Another good example below the line?
I can't do this.
Yeah.
Procedure I can't do.
Can't do it. Above the line?
Teach me how to do it or go and find it.
Yep. Show me how, or one of the things we encourage, ask for help.
Yeah.
You're not Robinson Crusoe, you can ask for help. Yep, good. Another below the line. Just one more and then we'll move on, but you'll have this as a template and feel free to utilise it. but I'd encourage you, don't just use it as a tool. Tailor it for your own language and your own behaviours and go through it with your teams.
Busy being busy.
Yeah, this is one I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I'm busy. What's the flip side? What's the above the line? What's that, sorry?
Results.
Yeah, are you achieving the results or are you achieving the outcomes or are you truly productive? Very good. So you can see how easy it is to flick the shift. And that's why this is such a big mantra in our business, that we're not expecting people to be perfect, but I think every person can aspire for above the line behaviour. And you asked what I coach about before, I'll coach about this. Even to the point where I'll highlight behaviours where I'll say, Joe, look, I think you did a fantastic job with that newsletter. You really, really achieved a great outcome. I know you had some challenges with that. Specific feedback on what they've done well. When they haven't met that expectation, you've also got to give specific feedback. Look, you actually held back a little bit with working with our virtual assistants, which are our staff in the Philippines. You're a little bit timid on that. Can I understand why? And then we'll understand why, and then we'll talk a little about, look, this is the type of behaviour we're actually looking for, which is the above the line. So you now start to understand what the one-on-one coaching is about, above and below the line behaviour. What's that person doing to be above the line? And whatever language you use, it doesn't have to be above the line. It's this whole notion of, can I make a difference? Does that make sense? Very important. And I'll now explain to you a little bit of the history as to this. And when I had some aha moments about 3 years ago, because I realised I was going really good on task, but I wasn't bringing people along for the journey. So I'm going to explain to you some of the things we now do. So there's a study done by Uni of New South Wales called High Performing Workplaces. Brilliant study. And what it did is it talked about what high performing organisations do. And this is essentially the ingredients that we now follow in our business. And there's another study by a group called InSync Surveys, which are the high performance habits of leaders. Both studies are great, they're free, you can get them on the web. And, they're the type of thing, don't get me wrong, that you're going to, might put you to sleep a bit, but if you read it, it will be worth its weight in gold in terms of the value it will provide. So what they found was that people welcome change, leaders care for their employees, and work results are results and goal oriented. All the stuff you're talking about. That's what high performing workplaces are about. The productivity benefits. So you know my background's an accountant. So money talks, bullshit walks. I don't do high performance because it's nice to do. I do high performance because it makes a real difference to our business. We don't do the warm fluffy crap just because it's kumbaya. We do it because it makes a real tangible difference to our business. Great business outcomes. So what they showed was that for every dollar of investment, and they categorised of all the studies, it was 71 organisations, 5,600 staff, a very in-depth survey. Credit to Uni of New South Wales, terrific survey. And what they talked about, for every dollar of investment, the high-performing workplaces generated 12 cents more in revenue than the low performance. Now that doesn't sound much, but that's 12% extra on your EBIT. Now that's nice. For those people that understand that, wow, that's a difference. So when I read this study and I realised, hang on a minute, there's a fair bit of science behind this, these are some of the things. So I've summarised for you, rather than read the 64-page survey, I thought I'd summarise it into a couple of slides for you, and this is some of the things they talked about. So they talked about average profit margin, high performance was 15%, low performance 5%, and they talked about they were better at achieving their objectives. So that's a little bit of the science, and when you get the slides you can have a look at it. But the point is I'm trying to make known business better outcomes with high performing organisations. So these are the 7 high performance habits that they come up with. Number 1, and hopefully this starts to resonate with what I talked about this morning. You need to, as leaders and business owners, develop an inspiring vision with clear strategies and goals. Is this starting to sound familiar? You need to delegate to people to play to your strengths. This is the characteristics. You need to get world class at time management. You need to focus on your big 5, meaning the 5 things that you add the most value to the business. You need to learn to say no and put yourself first. Michelle, I think you and I were talking about that before, how important that is, in terms of how important that is for you. Positive mindset, is this all sounding familiar? And lifelong improvement. And one thing I mentioned to you I have in my hand, anyone that knows, I always have ALI, always learning and improving. Always learning and improving. My wife's name is not Ali, it's just ALI. My wife's name is Nicole. But just to let you know, that's what it means. Always learning and improving. So you can start to see this is what the study shows. So it's not just me coming up and going, this is what BRS thinks. This has come from a study. And once I learnt this, we then executed this against the study because it was so in depth and so much good information, and it enabled me to take everyone along for the journey. So, first one, I won't go into that, was your strategic plan. You saw my strategic plan? That's what I mean by get that right. That's why we did it. Next one was the role matrix, which you saw. So you're now starting to see the familiarity here when the penny starts to drop, and I'm like, oh shit, if these high-performing organisations can do this, I reckon I can too. And I love this quote, one of my favourite quotes. You can do anything, but not everything. What do you reckon that means? You got to delegate. What else?
Be good at one thing.
Be good at one or a few things and really play to your strengths. Because I love the quote that a few people made about how important resilience is. I think resilience is an extremely underrated quality of a business owner. But can I give you a tip on resilience? If you do the things you're passionate about and that you love, you actually don't need to learn how to build resilience. Because you get back up anyway because you just love it that much. And so this whole point about designing your business life around the things you're passionate about will actually mean that you're actually getting back up anyway. Give someone a task that they don't like, and do you reckon they're going to be resilient about doing it again? What do you think? I don't know about you. Get me to do something that's, accounting related, ironically. As boring as batshit, I won't do it. It's just not something that I'll do. But get me to do something that I'm really passionate about, which is strategy, working with clients, and love it. I get knocked back down, I get back up. I knock down, I get back up. So this is a really important point around designing your team's role clarity around their passions and what they're good at. E.g., someone could be good at customer service. Someone's really good at systems and processes. Someone else in your partner is really, really good at, for example, documenting the processes. Work to your strengths. So this is what the study said. So just going through the third one, get world-class at time management. And that was that quote that I mentioned before in the last session, which was, it was actually very easy. All I had to do was remove everything that wasn't David. That's from Michelangelo. What's that quote saying for us as business leaders and business owners? Focus, very good. What else?
Stick to what's important.
Stick to what's important, good. This is all coming through. Yep, what else?
He was always in there.
Pardon?
David was always in there.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. That's very insightful. That's the key point. David's in there. David's in, whatever. David's in all of us. But the challenge is we're trying to keep everyone else so happy and we're trying to do everything for everyone else. We're actually not focusing on what truly matters. And I suspect you'd have employees that are exactly the same. Trying to be everything to everyone rather than delegating. So I really like that quote. David is in there. That's very well put. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. You won't see the detail, but when you get the slides. When I do executive coaching of CEOs, you know the first thing I always do? I grab their calendar for the last 3 months. Do you want to know why? What else am I looking for? And by the way, they can talk crap to me about what's important to them. But why do I look at their calendar? How productive they are, and the calendar actually reflects what their true priorities are. Even though they might say something, it reflects their priorities. So they say their family's important to them. And I see a calendar where they've got 80 hours. Yeah, really important. I see their fitness, and I can be frank with you, first 3 years I blew out like a life raft in the business because the problem was I didn't reflect on my health. And I've let that go, and I'm working hard to get it back. It's bloody hard to get it back. So I said health was important, but it wasn't. Your calendar reflects your priorities. And how you manage your calendar and say no to the crap that comes into your calendar that truly doesn't relate to your plan or your priorities is very important. Look at someone's calendar, you'll get an understanding of what's important to them. Manage your calendar, and I've got some tools and templates I'll provide Steve around how you manage your calendar effectively. So, same calendar with activities, and you'll notice this one on the right has lots of time for doing the things that really matter. E.g., I'm a person that only has my meetings in the afternoon because I do my best work growing up on a farm in the morning. I only have meetings in our business for 50 minutes because I want the buffer of the 10-minute rather than running overrun. I have rules around some of those things to make sure we're optimising our time. And I will not say yes to a meeting that I don't need to go to. I just won't do it. I'd rather have a phone call or just give me the actions. Or let the staff get on with it. And I have some clients that ring me and go, I want to speak to you. Well, actually, no, you need to speak to the person that's actually got responsibility for that. Unless it's a big issue, of course. But sometimes we just erode our time, and you wouldn't let someone go into your house and leave crap in your house, but we seem to let people leave crap in our time, our calendar. And I'd argue you can get better at managing it. And if it's only 5 or 10%, that could be 5 or 10% of time you can be spending on your family and your friends and things that truly matter. So calendar management. So these are all the tips from the high performance study. Next one is about people in high performing organisations have a bias for action. This is important. Are you busy or are you productive? And I want to hear from the group here. Give me an example of some of the busy activities we all do. Just a few. Email, yes. So I only do my emails in half-an-hour blocks, morning and night. I don't have it on during the day. As you probably see, don't have the phone on. What else? Meetings. They are the biggest eroder of draining the crap out of people. Meetings, yes. What else?
Buying product.
Pardon?
Buying product.
In what way?
Well, like they bring display bands and stuff around and you can choose off that. Where I can spend 15, 20 minutes looking at it, where if you went to the order, you do it in 5.
Yeah, good. So that's a good example where you're letting that happen rather than being proactive, yeah. What else? Where we're busy. Taking phone calls. This is a really important one. Amount of people you're in meetings with and the phone goes off and there's this absolute urgent need to answer the phone at that point in time. Don't you find that fascinating? So we lasted for years without the phone being on, but for some reason that phone rings, we are fixated on that phone. Oh my God, it's ringing, I better answer it. As opposed to turning the thing off and blocking out time to actually return the calls. Is it really going to matter? It's just a tip, but these are the things that erode time. So let's now look at the productive things. What are the things that are really productive that are going to add value to your business? Planning, very good. What else? Marketing, good. What else?
Invoicing.
Invoicing, yeah. I'd hope you'd delegate that. I'd hope you have someone that can do that better than you can, unless you're bloody good at both. Doing the work and the invoicing. We don't do the invoicing. What else?
Eating.
Pardon?
Break for lunch.
Break for lunch, yeah. What else? What are the productive things that are going to have the biggest impact? Just a tip, how about spending some quality time with your staff?
Yeah.
How about spending some quality time with your top clients? We're always time poor. How about walking the floor and having a chat to some of the guys, girls? I'm just making a point that, it's the whole sum of the parts. The stuff that adds real value. And we erode our time because we're busy. And we get comfort from thinking, oh, well, I responded to 40 emails today. Really? Did it add value? Every time the dinger goes off, you then stop yourself from doing a productive task? Like, is that adding value? Rather than getting and targeting the real good stuff? Yeah.
People's expectations too. People seem to think that because they send an email, you've got it.
Yeah.
And they want action now too.
I hear an answer, they call you. Have you got my email?
I've done it 5 times.
But you're letting someone, if I can give you a piece of advice, you're letting someone govern your time.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, actually, oh, well, make sure I respond back to you within 24 hours. Don't worry wrong, you should have that expectation.
Yeah.
But don't let their reactive state change the way that you work. I think that's a really important point around it's that comment that Nick made about we get to choose our response. And I really do believe in that.
I think it's important to respond, but you decide when, and so that's where the time management comes.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Very, very well put. How about other productive things? Just from what you've learned, hopefully, not just today, but over the course of your journey with Steve and others. What's some of the other real productive stuff?
Learning.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, taking time like this today is a fantastic example of this should hopefully bring some habits that you can bring back to your organisation and your staff and hopefully your family. So you can now start to understand how it works. And so a few things, I want to give you a couple of templates on how to manage yourself, Outlook tips, and also 4 Ds for organising and prioritising. So when I'm doing my planning for the week on a Sunday night, I work on a 4D principle. What I'm going to do, what I'm going to delegate, what I'm going to dump, what I'm going to defer. And I only do the big 5, and I've got a copy of it if you want a copy of it, but I'll send you through the template, Steve. But I really work on 4 Ds. And even to the point where I'm happy, if you grab the sheet, Robert, and you want to show it, you can see my planning for the week, and you'll laugh. I'll see if I've got it there. So you can hold it around. Hopefully there's nothing too sensitive on there about you, Steve, but I'm only joking. You'll see that's the way I do my planning for the week, and then I look at it every week. So you can see the way that I do the planning, which I just want to highlight that. Actually, I'll show it in a minute. I want to show you how the planning I do at the start of the week is really critical to achieving a lot of success during the week. Because I'll give you an example. I mentioned the top 10 at 10. If I have not done my planning Sunday night, do you think I can delegate well to staff?
No.
Do you think I can plan the week for them? Do you think they're actually going to be engaged to get on with the job? So when I do it, the week runs beautifully. When I don't do it, it's a reactive week. And even to the point when I'm overseas or interstate, and I'm not there for the top 10 at 10, I will take a picture of what you're seeing there, and I'll send it through to the staff, and I'll say, guys, here's my planning for the week. So they are crystal clear on who I've delegated to, and that works beautifully. But if I don't do it, very reactive week. So just a tip, you'll see it as you walk through. Hope there's nothing too sensitive. Also has my personal goals as well. So work smarter, not harder. And ask yourself this question: how many of your to-do list will help you to be more successful? Because if it's not, I'd respectfully suggest you're doing a heap of stuff where you're busy, you're not productive. And you'll see my to-do list, you can ask me whatever you like about it. The fifth habit they talked about was learning to say no and putting yourself first. Keeping everyone happy but yourself. And this is really hard to do, whether it be a customer, whether it be a staff member, whether it be other things. But can I just give you a bit of a tip? Every time you put someone else first to the detriment of yourself, you take away time from your family, your friends, your health, your fitness, which I can talk about personally, and other areas. And it might not sound important at that point in time, but over a long period of time, it has a huge impact. So it's really important you learn to say no and put yourself first. And that's why I make the point, have your strategic plan, which I'll show you mine in a minute, because it doesn't just help me choose what to do, it helps me choose what not to do. And that's the point. And I'm happy to share that around in terms of the plan, and then we're going to talk about what you're going to do with your plan. It's got some markings on it, because I've only just updated it. You can see my personal plan. It's the same template as my organisational plan. So learn to say no and put yourself first. And I love this. Steve, you talked about Tim Ferriss. One of his quotes I love is great. If you just have a look at that quote, I reckon it's gold. It's bold, but it's nice. The amount of people I hear say, I haven't got time to plan, I haven't got time to document things, I haven't got time to spend with clients or key staff. I just really, really humbly believe if you own a business or you're a senior leader, you've got to spend time on these things. And I just think his quote's spot on. So there's an example of my action plan, you'll see. My actions with the 4D principle, the 5 priorities for the week, that if I do nothing else, they're the 5 I need to do. And then the blogs I'm going to write this week, and then my personal actions against my personal plan that I'm doing for this week. I organise a date night with Nicole, or next holiday, or whatever it might be. So rather than waiting for Nicole to do that, I've got to get off my bum and be a bit more proactive. That's something in the past I haven't been good at. So it's things like that I'll put in my personal plan, and then I'll work that plan. I review it in the morning, every morning. So you'll see with my personal strategic plan, and this is the point I was going to make. What's really interesting for all of us, and I think we all might be guilty of it, and challenge me on this if you're not, but when I'm busy, I'll focus on my work, and I'll also focus on helping others, which is I've got a charity called the Entrepreneurs Foundation. I do a lot of speaking in schools. But the things that suffer the most? My health and fitness, which is becoming all I can be, my family and my friends, and travel and adventure. They're the things, whenever I'm busy, that suffer. And I don't want that to happen anymore. I want to be spending time in all my 5 areas of my personal strategic plan, which you'll see shortly, rather than just the 2. Because for me, my biggest legacy, I don't know, who here watches Andrew Denton, or has watched Andrew Denton? Yeah. I don't know if you saw an interview that he did with David Suzuki. Did anyone see it? Geez, I tell you what, I don't know if you know David Suzuki, the environmentalist? Yeah. Amazing guy. I think he's incredible what he's done. And Andrew was interviewing him and he said, David, you've done amazing things in your life. And he said, if I was to ask the question, what's your biggest legacy? You know that guy, for all his achievements, didn't bat an eyelid. He said, oh, that's an easy answer, Andrew, it's my children. And I thought for that thrill, I thought, far out. Sorry, I was going to say something a bit more blunt, but I think I did say at the time, I was like, fire truck, whatever I said. But it really hit me, because I thought, well, if I'm not spending time with my family and friends and my children when they're young, when they're influential, then what the hell am I doing? I'm not spending time on the things that actually matter. And I want my legacy to be my children and how I positively impact on others. Got me thinking that every time now when people want time that potentially I'm better off served giving to someone else, or someone else doing it, I'm then banking that extra time with my kids and my family. So it's really got me clear on my why I've got my personal strategic plan, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's really important to me now. Whereas before, in corporate life, I didn't. I gave all my time to everyone else and then didn't focus on what truly mattered. So that's just a tip. The sixth one they talked about was the importance of positive mindset. So what Nick talked about, what others have talked about, and how important it is to, this quote I think is great. The positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. Great quote. Sorry, it's a positive mindset. So just how important it is to actually have a positive mindset. And one of the things that really governs my thinking is I can come in with a negative attitude that it will never happen, or be realistic and think it could happen, but I also want to be in this space where I'm thinking it will happen. And being in that space means what's really ironic is more opportunities present itself. Now don't get me wrong, I still get some negative stuff happens, but the one thing I can choose is my response. And that's really important. So that's the quote there. So the final habit they talked about of people in high-performing organisations is lifelong learning and improvement. And it's what you're doing here. And being around people that are positive and associating with the right people and being positive yourself and being someone that people wants to spend time with. And so I just gave you a list. I thought I'd give you a list of some of the people that, for me, write great blogs. So these are all free blogs, all free people that provide blogs. And what I do is I have a little folder in my inbox called Reading to Undertake. So rather than feeling overwhelmed when the inbox comes in with the email, I drag and drop it in there, and when I get a spare few minutes, I then look at them, and then I file them. So rather than feeling like, again, being reactive, oh, it's come in, I must read it, I drag it in as a rule into my Reading to Undertake folder. And if you do anything else, just a tip, who here is a subscriber to Success Magazine? Wow, just a tip, for $50, it's a US magazine, it's got people like John Maxwell, Darren Hardy, Robin Sharma in it. For $50 for 12 months, it gives you this wonderful magazine, but on top of that, they have an audio CD that they get in every magazine. And then what I do is I use my commute time to listen to these interviews. So it's this wonderful gift of knowledge that you can listen to in the car rather than listening to the radio. And so this is just a few ideas on just some fantastic blogs that are free. You just go on there and subscribe, and then you'll get this inspirational information from great people. So I just wanted to finish off with a couple of exercises. How much time have we got? 15 minutes? Yep, great. Okay, so I'm going to finish with a couple of exercises. Can I just get you to grab these two documents, which are the individual habits of positive habits and negative habits. And a number of you have asked about what we coach our staff on. Hopefully you'll see this thing called small daily habits, replacing the negative habits with the positive habits. And this will unlock how we build a great organisation. So if you want to grab them in front of you. What those two documents are is two documents we have in our business, and we also, they're also through the Easy Consult program, is I get every person when they start with us to actually document what they believe are some of their negative habits and what they're going to do to replace them. So not only the consultants in our business, but also their individual behaviours. So why would I focus on habits? And again, it's not meant to be perfection, it's meant to be them recognising what habits are holding them back and what they need to do to be great. Why do you think I get every person in the first 3 months they start with us to work through that exercise? Yep, very good. But why are we coaching them around the positive and the negative? Very good. I want you in your tables to tell me, from an individual point of view, as small business owners and business owners, what are the negative habits we often do and what are the positive habits? And I want you to have a chat about it. The reason being is, for us to recognise what's holding us back, we've actually got to highlight what those habits are. And rather than being fear-driven by them, we've actually got to replace them with the positive habits. And I'm a big advocate of replacing negative habits with positive habits. So you'll see I put my personal one there for individual, like leaving work early, delegating properly, planning well. They were just some examples. So if I can ask each table to literally have a chat as small business owners, what are some of the negative habits and what are some of the positive habits, and then we're going to hear from each table, because we've got to recognise what they are, and you're now starting to unlock some of the things that we do to really unleash high performance in the business. That's a really good one. Get someone to fill it. It's positive. Alright guys, we're going to have a bit of a chat about it, and if I can just reflect on this, think about some of these things when you do your 90-day planning with Steve at the end of this 2 days, because these are hopefully some of the things you'll be thinking about, like just a great point just before about, I can do one procedure a week. Troy, that was a great idea of just one thing that you can do which will have a huge impact on your business, or one template a week. So just let's start with some of the negative habits first. Yeah.
We put putting off marketing.
Yep.
Trying to do it all myself.
Yep.
Allowing third parties to dictate deadlines.
Very good.
Holding on to things, not delegating.
Yep.
Not asking for help.
Very well put. Very good. Other negative ones that anyone wants to raise? Yes.
Not being present in conversation.
Yes.
So busy that your mind's going 100 to a dozen and you're not listening to what someone
Absolutely. And that is so important if you do the planning, how much better. I'll tell you a funny story. I was telling someone before. I spend 2 days a week in isolation. My parents-in-law own a house down in Adelaide. They're on a farm as well. And I'm in isolation just doing my planning work. Because the comment I make to the staff is that when I'm back then, I'm truly in the moment. I'm not checking my phone, I'm not reactive, whatever it might be. So I can't stress enough how important that is for that. It's a really good pickup. Yeah. Other negative habits as small business owners we often do. Yes?
Working long hours.
Yep.
Putting off the gym.
Yep. I talked about that. I was the same, so I still am, but I'm working hard on that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, good. Other negative habits? Yep.
Getting bogged down in busy work.
Yes. Yep. Very good. Some of the positive habits, because I just want to suggest this. You want to replace the negative with the positive. Don't be fear-driven. Replace them with positive habits. Some positive habits.
Kym, just going back to a negative habit.
Yeah, that's okay.
Smartphones.
Yeah.
How often we look at it.
Oh,
We're
absolutely.
driven by it.
Yep.
It's supposed to make our life easier.
Yep. I think they're a great tool, but can I just offer a suggestion? I think it's really sad when you're dealing with someone who's constantly checking their phone and the message it sends. It's one of the reasons why I have mine off, because I had an incident when one of my young children told me how, in a blunt way, Dad, you're never really home when you're home. And I tell you what, that kicks you in the guts when you get that from your child. And, that was 3 or 4 years ago, and now I don't have it on very often.
Just put it in my bag.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Some other positive habits before we look to wrap up. I'm hoping you're starting to recognise what you need to do and what you need to replace. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Planning. Great positive habit because of the ripple effect that not just for you in terms of feeling better, but the impact it has on your staff to do their job. Yeah.
I was just going to say, enjoying connecting with people
Yes.
and meeting people and hearing
Absolutely.
their story.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? You go to a session like this, for me, just to meet some great people and be with like-minded people. You could easily say I'm too busy for it, but by geez, it gives you energy, doesn't it? Fantastic. Very good. So you can start to see, and I just want to read one quote before I finish off. I love this quote, and this is direct from the study. So absorb it because I reckon it's just gold. I'll read it in a editorial content. I'm only joking. These habits, no, joking. These habits are not a smorgasbord where you choose the 3 or 4 you like the most. I'm talking about the 7 ones that they highlighted. They are not mutually exclusive by nature, rather they augment each other, meaning they're complementary. If you embed some of these habits you haven't embedded before, you should increase your organisation's performance. The desired increase in performance is only likely to be achieved and sustained, however, if all 7 organisational habits become your organisation's new way of life. Isn't that powerful? That's so powerful, that quote. Phenomenal. And that's why you now start to understand, when I understood the science of it, and hopefully I've taught you a little bit about the how now. You can do it, you do it step by step, and you'll build great businesses. And even to the point, I'm just going to show you a few photos and then I'll finish up. There's our top 10 at 10 board. It's got about 15 on it, that list. There's our 90-day plan with our key goals for the 90 days. There's our role clarity matrix. There's our above the line tool. There's our Myers-Briggs of every person in our business with their Myers-Briggs assessment, so you understand the people you're working with and their preferences. Yes. I'm happy to provide the link to the website, not a problem at all. Yeah, it's a free one, so it's not formally accredited, but we use it because it's free and it's bloody good. You fill it in 70 questions and it's very accurate. And then the last one is the mouse mat I was talking about. So all jokes aside, every person has a mouse mat. I want it brain tattooed. And it's so important for us to have it brain tattooed. So you can sort of see, hopefully that you can see how it works and why we do what we do. And just the final quote before I finish up, 1% improvements over time lead to staggering results. Don't be overwhelmed and think you've got to do it all now. Just one little bit at a time. And if you do that, I look forward to hopefully seeing you down the track and seeing you've got great businesses. And more importantly, you've got the time, money, freedom and meaning to do what you want to do, which is, to me, the goal of business owners. So thanks very much. Hopefully that's been useful. I wanted to explain a little bit more about the how, because I know it was a bit overwhelming before, but it should hopefully help you a lot with that. Thanks very much.
Right. Thanks, mate.
Oh, pleasure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow, that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Guys, there was a lot to take in, wasn't there? And so many notes that I'm sure you've taken, and so many takeaways that you've got from Kym's 2 sessions. So I guess, Kym, with the slides, I guess, because I will get lots of questions from the guys later. What do you think the best process is for the different templates? You've mentioned templates throughout your sessions and things like that. Will you just email them through to me?
Yeah, I'll email it through, and then feel free to share them with everyone. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think you'll agree with me that everybody will get great value from having them.
And if I can just give a tip, just a suggestion, all the templates I've shown, we've written blogs about. So if you go to the blogs, easyconsult.com.au and the brsblog.com, we explain the how on how to implement, bite-sized blog by blog. So just a suggestion, I'd look at the templates in association with the blog, subscribe to the blog. Yeah. You'll get to know our team members and what they write about, and I think it'll make your job easier. Absolutely, and I've actually had a good look at the website and the blogs, and it's definitely worth writing down and at least going have a look and subscribing. No worries. Excellent. If you just want to wait for maybe 3 minutes, no problem. What about some last questions for Kym? I mean, this is, for me, an amazing business person who lives his talk, if that makes sense. That works. So he has a business that thrives in this economy, and his culture and everything else he does, he lives it. So what are the sort of questions you want to ask before Kym finishes up? Yes.
We know that everybody starts off, you started off as well, and it was all like,
Yeah.
Probably the same place as we all start.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to put these systems until you reach this comfortable place where you go, right, now I've got basically what I started off with?
Yep. Yeah. So I can answer that really. It took, I think, somewhere between 2 and 2.5 years before it was at that point where I was really enjoying the business. First 2.5 years was really hard. We recruited the wrong people. I think we over-complicated things. We weren't as focused as we could have been. But I'll be honest, the last 1.5 years, I've really enjoyed our business. I've loved it. Because we've reaped, the rewards for the hard work we put in. So yeah, it's not an easy venture, but I'd hope, and that was the point I was making before, I'd hope with the tools and templates you've seen, and then go to our website and you can see the other ones, it will make your job easier to fast track it, because if I had what we have now, it would have made my job a lot easier. But we had to trial and test and work out what worked and what didn't, and yeah, so I'd say about 2.5 years it took me. But it's definitely worth it, because I want this business for my life. I want to continue to do what I do and have these entrepreneurial spin-offs and develop people and, have a positive impact. As you saw in my strategic plan, my last hour's paragraph is to have an impact on 10 million people before I die. So hopefully there's 20 or 30 people here that I've had a positive impact on. That's ticked a bit off the list on my last hour's paragraph, as you see with my personal plan.
It's a bit like going to the gym, isn't it? You want the perfect body. Kym spent 2.5 years going to the gym 5 days a week.
Yeah, at work. I'm working harder now to get fitter because I let that part of my life go, and that's what I'm being honest. I used to play cricket at A-grade district level, very fit, and I let it go, and it's very hard to now get it back. But I had amazing discipline in my business and in other areas, but not with my fitness. But now I'm really adamant about getting back to my goal.
What a wonderful opportunity to get fit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but it's a classic case of not doing the things personally that I should have done. Yeah.
Wonderful. Another question? Yep, Grant?
Yeah.
This is kind of a bit of a more of a curiosity question.
Yes.
Thing you mentioned right at the start that you're offered a sizable sum for
Yes.
your business, but you turned it down.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I can tell you that. Tell you that honestly. I used to work for a Big Four accounting firm. It was a Big Four accounting firm that offered us a lot of money. They wanted a 3-year earn-out clause. But the other thing is, I enjoy my business so much. So what would I do? I don't do this for money. I'm very financially comfortable. But the other thing for me was, I looked at my staff. This was the big aha moment, and I was very open with them, talking through the look on their eyes, because a lot of them had come from those practices, and their cultures, no disrespect, are shit. They are really bad cultures in those places. They work your bum off. It's the classic stick rather than the carrot. It would have been putting people in that environment that wouldn't have enjoyed it. And I didn't. That's what my point. I didn't need the money. I've got enough money, so that was an easy decision. Although I did joke to him at the time. I said, "Come back to me in 5 years. We might sell it for 100 million." That was a joke. It was a joke, but you get my point. And the point is, I've worked so hard to develop a great team, and now it's really reaping dividends with the entrepreneurial businesses. And the only way we can build easy government and easy consult and then easy projects, which launches in March next year, is because we have this wonderful team that are just, have learnt those things there. To retrain someone in that space would take a lot of time and energy, and we've got a great team.
Concept, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Last question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just,
Pete.
how do you recruit? What are the key things you look for when you're hiring?
Yep, so I'll show you one slide. This is not from me, this is from Caroline Dweck. That's a great question. I didn't get a chance to cover that. I've designed our entire recruitment process, and if you look on Carol Dweck, The New Psychology of Success, she's done this study around people that have a fixed and growth mindset, and around how people with a growth mindset are far more resilient and adaptable to change. We've designed our entire interview questions around recruiting people with a growth mindset. So what that means is you'll get some people that are really smart, but then they hit a wall and they don't want to learn or adapt anymore. I'd rather recruit people that maybe not as smart technically, but have a growth mindset, who embrace challenges, persist despite obstacles, see effort as a path to mastery, learn from criticism, be inspired by the success, rather than, I know what I know and I don't need to be taught anymore. 100% we've designed our recruitment around Carol Dweck's work.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I've written a blog about that, fixed versus growth mindset, and I'll put a link to her survey questions that we've designed as interview questions, so you can just grab it free off that blog. Yep.
I think perhaps for our next mastermind session for our VOP members, we might actually spend 3 hours working on this.
This is unbelievable in terms of growth mindset.
Yeah.
Rather than fixed.
Fantastic. Guys, could you please all stand up and give Kym Williams a
No
massive round of applause?